So, and aggression. Oh, my favorite subject. I really appreciate what Reverend Whitlock has shared with us, and I know that in this space that it isn't easy to especially stand up for LGBT people, and that means a lot. And when I say LGBT, I mean lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, non-binary, gender queer, gender diverse, pansexual, asexual, and all of the other beautiful ways that that people experience and express their sexual orientation and gender identity. And so, and I, as you were talking about who's here in the room, you gave me the courage to also add that I don't see a lot of the members I don't see a lot of black people in this church. I see my wife, and I see a few friends, Gerline over there, and so that's the other part, is who's going to be present for the LGBT community, and I'm so happy to know that we're going to get to keep working on that, so that this church has more diversity when you have someone like me sitting on your panel. And I thank the Interfaith Council also for making sure that that someone from my community was sitting here today, because it's super important right now when we're facing the kind of epidemic of hate and bigotry and violence against the LGBT community. And I'm going to take a moment to share this. We have some recent data from our Orange County school districts that has been collected and analyzed, not analyzed, but put together by a Chapman researcher at Chapman that took data from a study that is done for students in 7th, 9th, and 11th grade in almost every single middle and high school district in California. And on the study, there's three questions that allow a student to identify themselves as LGBT. Some school districts actually don't do this survey because they don't want to be bothered with that. And some don't do the survey, but they take those questions out. So we have data from, I think, 10 or 11 out of 15 middle and high school districts. We have 27 total districts in Orange County. From these middle and high school districts, they identified over 15,000 students who identify as LGBT. These are students who self-identify, who are in 7th, 9th, and 11th grade. And the data the survey asks questions about basically, it's like social and emotional well-being of students, and things like depression and suicide, and feeling connected at school and feeling like you belong at school. And the data is staggering, and it's not something that's surprising to us who have been working and fighting in the LGBT community for so many years. But a lot of people are seeing this data, and they're like, I don't understand. I thought things were better. You can get married now. So, which was supposed to be a little bit facetious, I guess. So, the data, one of the things the data shows is that LGBT students are seriously consider suicide. Approximately over about 50% of LGBT students seriously consider suicide, as compared to about 11% of non-LGBT students. So that's 15,000 students that are just in these school districts that do the survey, where the data was collected, that answer that question, right? So we can imagine there's quite a few more than that, quite a lot more. These students often are going home to places where they're hearing that it is a sin, that it is immoral, that it is wrong, that it's against God's will to be LGBT. And that's what we're hearing from this pushback. At the state, we heard over 200 people on Thursday. We sat through 200 people speak for 1 minute each, hurling some of the most archaic and heinous and hurtful LGBT rhetoric that you could possibly imagine. And most of it was about God, and their favorite quote that so many of them use is about hanging a millstone around the neck, basically threatening every single educator or anybody that's advocating for LGBT students by saying this comment over and over, that if you're going to hurt these kids with this, you should have a millstone hung around your neck and be thrown in the sea. These were threatening comments made to commissioners, to State Board of Education people, and to the advocates in the room. The situation there, just for an example, was so traumatizing that we had to have people escort us to because there were people outside that were so hostile that it was scary. And so we actually had people escorting us to the bathroom. Now this is a group of adults who are claiming to be Christians, who, when we spoke, when we had our 1 minute of speaking, would hiss and boo and say things like perverts and disgusting while we're speaking. They will say these things to us when we walk past them as well. So, so this is the environment that we can imagine some of these kids, and maybe it's not quite so blatant, but this is what they're learning. And these are the kids who are ending up depressed and ending up suicidal. What will happen is the people on the other side will say, these kids are depressed and suicidal because they're LGBT. And they use it against us. So it's almost become a risk to bring up some of this data, because they will take it and they will turn it back on us and say, well, if they weren't LGBT, well, we can fix them. Have them come to our church to some kind of therapy, and we're going to heal them. And we know for a fact, as data says over and over, that that is absolutely not the case. That if the kids who are coming from the most religious, rejecting homes are the ones who are ending up most depressed and also most likely to feel suicidal and to kill themselves. So when we talk about the hate crimes, unfortunately, this doesn't have a place to be studied. It doesn't have a place to be. There's no checkbox for the kind of hatred that comes from rejecting, shaming, shunning, ostracizing, and hurting LGBT kids. It's not a crime to do this. And it's not a crime for them to then become depressed and kill themselves, but that's what's happening. And in Orange County, we have the highest rate of teen suicide, and many of those kids are LGBT, and I can provide you the information to support that. So, the spiritual misuse of the misuse of the spiritual to hurt LGBT kids is a hate crime against them, and also a hate crime against anybody who has faith and who actually understands, I think, what is supposed to be the idea of all this religious stuff, which is to love one another. And so the hate crime is that, and these kids are killing themselves, which I think is a hate crime against them, but not by their own doing. So I talk about, that's how I challenge. This is when you talk about tactics, and people are going to say, it's going to come back to me, and they'll say I'm aggressive and I'm strident and I'm said other word, shrill, and I'm an angry lesbian, and I'm all of these things. So those are my aggressive tactics. Hopefully nobody was injured by them, and hopefully you're also going to be able to see those tactics as coming out of a heart of compassion. And so I will be as aggressive as I need to. You can record that over there, Mr. Schaper. And I will protect LGBT youth and the rights and dignity of all people, and especially those who are most marginalized and hurt.